and welcome to Live from the Eagle's Nest here at the National Conservation Training Center. I'm Randy Robinson with you here in our NCTC studio. And with us today, we have two special guests. We have Deb Kolnick and, Deb Steck and Paul Kolnick joining us from Bald Eagles 101. Now, if you've been on the chat room of the Eagle's Nest over these many years, you know Deb and Paul pretty well. You've seen many videos that they've posted, pictures that they've posted, questions that they've answered, and so we're very happy to have them with us today. But before we introduce Deb and Paul, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on at the Nest, what has gone on at the Nest the last couple weeks, and share a little bit of video with you. And we want to welcome everybody, all of our longtime viewers, and also welcome to everybody that's new and viewing here for the first time. This is all made possible by our friends at the Outdoor Channel. They do all the streaming for us via YouTube, and also operate the chat room, which gets a lot of use, as you know, if you've seen it. Likewise, we want to thank our friends of NCTC for sponsoring the program over these many years. We're celebrating 20 years here at the Nest. And the Nest was started in 2003, and so 20 years. It's been a very productive nest. It's now a big nest. It's about 8 feet across. Rob, if you could pull that nest up. Never mind, we've got the map. We'll take a look at the map. Just to show you where we are. If you're not familiar, we're in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, a beautiful part of the state, about 2 hours by drive time from Washington, D.C. Metro area, about 70 miles upriver right along the Potomac. So you see that yellow star, not too far from Hagerstown, Maryland, Frederick, Maryland, Winchester, Virginia, Martinsburg, West Virginia, beautiful part of the state. And like I said, right along the Potomac River, and we've got some drone video to show you, give you a little idea what it looks like as the eagles fly over. There's an island, Shepherd Island, on the Potomac, and we're flying back towards the training center. The National Conservation Training Center is the home of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, has been since we opened in 1997. It's the main training facility, not just for fish and wildlife, but for the Department of the Interior as well. So National Park Service, U.S. Geological Survey, Bureau of Land Management, many of the interior agencies are here for workshops and conferences and training. And right now we're taking a look at our young eagle, Jefferson, named by students, first grade students at North Jefferson Elementary here in Jefferson County, West Virginia, aptly named after President Jefferson. And just downstream from here near Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, is Jefferson Rock. And Thomas Jefferson once said it was worth a trip across the Atlantic Ocean to see that view of Harpers Ferry, and that's where the Shenandoah flows into the Potomac River. So the confluence of two big rivers just about 12 miles downstream at Harpers Ferry. So Jefferson is our young bird. He or she, we don't know which. We're kind of leaning towards she just because of the size. You know, eagles, female eagles are bigger than male eagles, generally speaking. So we would not be able to tell the sex for sure without a blood test. And the bird is not banded, so we'd have no way of tracking them either. But we're just guessing that it could be a female. So Jefferson, you might see those names used in the chat room. But it's the juvenile eagle, 88 days old today, and it is 1 week since it fledged. It fledged on June 15th, just a week ago today. And we've got some fun videos to look at. And Rob, if you're in the control room, Alex is telling me that YouTube is not streaming, so maybe you can work that out. I do see your text there, Alex, so thanks for doing that. And likewise, folks, if you have questions for us, Deb or Paul or I, you can go ahead and put those in the chat room at any time. And while we're getting set up there, I will say a special thanks again to the Outdoor Channel. George Appergen, our friend there, has been a big help for us over this season. Again, the Friends of NCTC, our studio crew here, Brett, Rob, Johnny, and Clayton. And also thanks to Connor O'Brien, Windows on Wildlife, who's helped us out a lot with our streaming cameras this year. Also, big thanks to all the folks that join in on in the chat room. Mike at Awahali Productions, Judy Eddy with our Eaglet Momsters down in Florida, Lori G and Gina, and lots of other folks. I can't mention everybody, but it's good to have you all with us. And Lisa says hello, aloha from Hawaii. And Lori G says hello from Western PA, up near the Greensburg area. Let's see, we've got, let me just scroll down here a little bit. Okay. Yes, so we've got our young eaglet in the nest on standby, and we've got a couple of videos that we'll just take a couple looks at here. We'll go back in time, back to June 8th, if you can pull that one up, Rob. While Rob's getting that queued up, let's look at the nest view there again. Rob's got he's fast. You're really fast, Rob. So we'll go ahead and run with that video that you've got from June 8th. Let's see what that looks like. And this is pre-fledge. This is exactly a week before the fledge. Now at this point, Jefferson there is doing a lot of winger sizing, and Deb posted this video. He's actually doing a lot of hovering above the nest, and you can see it takes a lot of energy, as you might guess, to fly, but he's been getting a lot of exercise, eating lots of protein, lots of fish, getting him geared up to make that fledge out. At this point, the video that we're seeing, he's about 10 and a half weeks old. Now, many of these videos, or most of them, are posted up on YouTube. So Deb has a YouTube channel, and Paul does as well. So you'll see lots of videos there, many more than we have time to play today. But we'll just take a look at a few of the highlights. So welcome Melanie from Branson, Missouri. So we're looking at the young eaglet there, Jefferson. He's, at this point, the video was from June 8th, so he was 10 and a half weeks old. So let's go to another one there, Rob. If we could take a look at Awahali. I think it's also from June 8th. And he's on the short post there, gets a lot of hovering done. And at some point, he actually goes up above camera range. Pretty funny to see. This is typical behavior for young birds. And you know, when we talk about the behavior here, we're looking at this one particular nest, but many bald eagles, if you looked at nests around the country like folks at Bald Eagles 101 do, they have many of the same behaviors, both the juveniles and the adults. So, you know, kind of each nest is different, but in some ways the behaviors and their nesting rituals and their nest building rituals, their mating, their raising the young, they all have some similarities. And it's always so interesting to watch. So Rob, if you could roll that next one, I believe, yeah, that's from, yep, there's a shot of Jefferson coming in. This is the 12th of June. This is from Deb as well. So this is the day that the Jefferson flies up to the top of the ladder post, and he actually branched off the nest. We call that branching as opposed to fledging. Branching just means they go to another branch or in the tree. Fledging actually means they leave the nest and leave the tree, and that didn't happen till June 15th, a week ago today. And on breezy days, it's always fun to watch them get the feel of the wind under their wings and get that lift, and that helps them to build their muscles, but it also gets their brain and their body working together and really feels what it's like to be able to fly. And what's interesting about young ones is they're pretty good at taking off because they got a lot of practice. There he is up on the perch. So that was the very first time he got on the perch. Now Deb's got a slow motion for us here. Goes off the nest. They're good at taking off, but they're not so good at landing because they don't have much practice coming in. We've seen the young one here crash and burn a few times coming into the nest. One just a day or so ago was pretty amusing. There was a little red-winged blackbird chasing Jefferson, and it was not going to harm him, but he didn't know that. So he came into the nest very fast and kind of slammed on the brakes at the last second and kind of tipped up, and his tail feathers up in the air, and there were some pretty amusing photos of it. Awa Holly got a good one and posted it on there. That was kind of interesting to see. But yeah, you can tell when they're flying around, they're a little bit awkward. They're not nearly as graceful as the adults are. It takes them some time to get the hang of flight. So welcome to Dave from Morgantown, West Virginia. Dave Rosier, thanks for joining us. And Gail from Dallas, Texas. Welcome, Gail, and everyone. Thanks for joining us today, folks. So I think right now we do have some more videos. We'll save some up. We'll look at the actual fledge after a bit here, but right now I want to introduce Deb Steck, and Deb is joining us from way up in the Northwest Territories, and Deb is the founder of Bald Eagles 101, and Deb also has some slides to share with us. So Deb, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in eagles and forming Bald Eagles 101.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. As Randy said, I'm way up north, Northwest Territories, Canada. In 2006, I happened to be visiting my sister in the Lower Mainland, BC, and I was reading the morning paper and I noticed an article about David Hancock, and he's a well-renowned bald eagle specialist and a lover of the environment. And he was involved with a project where they were going to put a camera in in an active bald eagle nest. So that really sparked my interest. I've always loved birds. I've always loved nature. So I started to look into David Hancock, and before I knew it, I actually met the man himself. He took me on a tour of bald eagle nests around the Lower Mainland, and he also took me in the fall. He took me to a bald eagle nest, and I got to go up into the nest with him, and we did some nest repairs. So all season, I watched the bald eagle cams, and I particularly fell in love with the NCTC nest. I also got very active with the Channel Island nests. I started to follow those nests quite closely and some other nests. So by the end of 2006, I had a large volume of notes that I had collected watching these various nests. I found it very interesting to document their behavior, how many eaglets there were, how many eggs were laid, what type of food sources were being brought to the nest. So by the end of 2006, I was all in. I was hooked. And doing it in a scribbler, documenting all these notes, it was very time consuming. Plus I was taking pictures. So David encouraged me to join his foundation, which I did. And I was an active member on the forum documenting behavior on various bald eagle nests. And it just kind of grew from there. Now, social media kind of took off, particularly Facebook. And I started to explore the options because the membership in forums was dramatically reduced when social media took off. So I decided to form a page on Facebook. I didn't know if it would be successful or not. And my goal was to encourage other eagle enthusiasts to join us and to share observations and reports either from the field, from a real nest environment, or watching via live cam. And my page took off, and pretty soon it was just too much for me to handle on my own. So another colleague of mine, who I met through my passion for eagles, her name is Terry Bales. I invited her early on to join me. So it was Terry and myself and another gal. And pretty soon we welcomed Paul and a gal by the name of Trudy into our fold. And we're a very small team, but we work really well together. And now we have over 8,000 members that drop into Bald Eagles 101 and share their passion with nature and eagles. And now we kind of keep track of over 50 bald eagle nests, and the majority are in the United States, but some of them are in Canada too. So that's kind of how I got into it, and I've been watching bald eagles since 2006. And every year we seem to learn something new about the species, and I love it.
Well, that's great, Deb. Thanks for sharing that with us. And you also have a few photographs from up in the Northwest Territories. We'll share those if you could bring those photos up from Deb. Just tell us a little bit about what's going on here, Deb.
Okay, so this nest is in Hay River, Northwest Territories, and I'm up here right now working. So I got here late yesterday, and of course I said to my husband, we got to go check on the nests. So we went to check on the nests, and sadly, one of the nests I checked on, it's no longer there. So I suspect it was severe weather that wiped it out, and I have a picture of that later in the slideshow. But fortunately, despite a forest fire in this town earlier this year, the nest by the airport is intact. It is missing, it's got some damage. It's missing some of the key branches. But last night I saw Mom, she's in the nest. So because she's in the nest, I know there's eaglets in the nest. And our eagles up in northern Canada their schedule is behind your nest, way behind the NCTC nest. So I was thrilled to see that the fire had not claimed the nest and that it's active. So today I'm going to go back there today and check it out to see if I can identify how many eaglets there are.
And you've got a few more slides in here. We've got a nice adult.
Yeah, so I didn't have an opportunity to share a lot of pictures this time, but yeah, so this is one of the parents. I think it's a female, and she was actually by the beach and fishing when I took this picture. And again, that's one of the juveniles from a few years ago. Because of COVID and the forest fires, I haven't been able to get up here for over 2 years. So I was really happy to be here last night and see that the one nest is active. And again, that's just another view. It's beautiful up here. There's lots of pine trees, spruce trees, and of course there's a Great Slave Lake right next door. So the eagles have great resources, kind of like the Potomac. I think the Great Slave Lake is one of the largest lakes in North America. So fishing is good here. Now, this is the nest that I visited last night as well, and sadly, the nest is gone. I'm not discouraged though, because this nest has been taken out by a severe weather event in the past, and the eagles, they've rebuilt it. So even though the nest is no longer there, I'm confident we're going to rebuild it. And if you look at that tree, the crotch of the tree is not very big. Yeah, so I was kind of shocked how big the nest actually will become after a few seasons. Now the next slide you're going to see is the young juvenile. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I didn't get great pictures, but this is one of the juveniles from one of the nests, and it actually was successful in catching a big fish. So we were thrilled. Yeah, we were thrilled. Now, I took this picture because there's a busy airport here. Some geese got very close to the aircraft, and the bald eagle nests are close to the airport too. So one of the hazards is for aircraft is bird strikes, not only geese, but even eagles, right? So that's why I'm sharing that picture.
Well, thank you very much, Deb. And we're looking back at a shot of our young bird here, the 88-day-old, that's about 12 and a half week old eaglet. Jefferson is his name, given him by the elementary students at Jefferson Elementary. And so thank you, Deb. And right now, say welcome to Paul Kolnick. And Paul is over in Mount Airy, Maryland, not too far from here. And Paul, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got interested in eagles. And you've also got some photos for us.
Yes, thank you, Randy. I first started watching the nest with the National Arboretum and the NCTC camp, and that was in 2016. And then I became involved in Bald Eagles 101 in 2018 when Bell disappeared. And I retired in 2017 from a system engineering career. And since then, I've been photographing bald eagles and other large birds. And made several trips to Conowingo Dam, and I thought I might just talk a little bit about that because one of the places Jefferson will probably visit on her trips will be Conowingo Dam, and that's pretty much around 88 miles as the bird flies from the NCTC nest. And the dam it was commissioned in 1928. It's a large hydroelectric dam that's in Darlington, Maryland, in the lower Susquehanna River, and it supports a 9,000 acre reservoir. It's 94 feet high, 4,648 feet long, and it has 53 floodgates. It has 11 turbines, and if you look up when the best time is to visit Conowingo Dam, you will see it generally specified as November to January. But one of the little known secrets is April to May is probably an even better time because you won't freeze to death going out there. It's really cold in November because, as you might guess, with all the water, there's a lot of wind coming across the water, and it's very cold. The pictures that you're going to see, I all took in the April-May time frame, and we have a map of where the dam is in relation to Baltimore. You see, it's about halfway between Baltimore and Philadelphia on Route 1, right along the Susquehanna River there. Next slide. This is the view of the dam from what's called Fisherman's Park, and it's a area where photographers can go that's very close to the water. It's a much smaller area. The rest of the dam area where photographers go is in the parking lot, and that's probably about 20 feet higher, but it's a much longer area, and you can get many more photographers up there. If you want to get into the dam in November, my understanding is you need to get there when it opens. If you want to get a parking spot, that's in probably around 5 a.m. And when I went in April, I went around 6 or 6:30, and I had no trouble finding parking spots. Next slide. This is the dam with some of the spills open, and the birds you see there are going to be there's some bald eagles in there, there's some osprey, some seagulls, and some cormorants. And what happens is when they open the spills, the fish come through there and they're stunned when they hit the water, and a lot of times they're even floating down the river. And the great blue herons will sit on the side of the edge of the bank, and they'll just scarf up the fish that come out there. And the cormorants will also be in the water, and they'll start to grab the fish. But the eagles will also watch the cormorants, and if the cormorant looks like it's going to go for a fish, they'll start circling around the cormorant and head down there. Next. This is an island. It's called Rowand Island that is in the middle of the water there. And the next slide you'll see are some shots of some young eagles that are up on the towers with the black vultures, and they hang around a lot together. Young eagles will hang around with black vultures because black vultures will always know where the carrion is, and they will hang around with them and usually get a fairly good feeding. This is another shot on the island where you can see one of the younger eagles landing with an adult, and there's some black vultures there also. The next shots are taken from the fisherman's wharf, where you can actually get a closer shot that's near the water, and it's hard to get these kinds of shots because the eagle has to be coming at you, and you have to be in just the right place at the right time. Next. And you can see it successful grabbing this fish and then flying off with it. Next. Now, what they typically do is what a lot of them do is they'll grab the fish and they'll fly back into the trees at the parking lot, and they'll perch there and they'll eat the fish. But it's not always easy to get there with the fish. You can see this eagle has a fish, and I think the other eagle was probably following and hoping to grab the fish. And if you look at some of these next slides, you'll see that there's an eagle chasing. There's a younger eagle chasing the adult, and the adult has the fish. If we go to the next one, you'll see two younger eagles trying to get the fish from the adult. And then the next slide has a younger eagle that it was not successful, but it got really close. So then I have a few shots of the eagles that are actually in the parking lot. These are the trees right above the parking lot, and you see this one eating a fish, and another one eating a fish. And then here you see a younger eagle, doesn't have a fish, but you get some idea of the variation of the ages that are at Conowingo Dam. They're just basically from 1 year old all the way up to 5, and there are a lot of eagles up there. And when I was there were probably anywhere between 100 and 200 eagles. And this last slide, you would think that the only threat to stealing their food would come from other eagles, but this black vulture was trying to grab something from this eagle, and he didn't have much luck. Now, the sad thing is the black vulture population there has dwindled considerably because the diseases that came through there last year with avian influenza took several hundred black vultures. And one other thing is, I was reading, there's a Facebook group called Conowingo Bald Eagles, and if you want to learn more about what goes on at the dam at any given time, you can go to that Facebook group. I was just looking at that the other day, and I noticed that someone has posted that there is now an eagle's nest in the parking lot high up in one of the trees. That wasn't there when I was there a couple of years ago, but the eagles are fairly comfortable around people there. It's a little unusual because there are a lot of eagles that are even flying through the parking lot chasing each other, but I guess they don't have any reason to mess with the other eagles in the nest because there's plenty of food there. If you want to get some more videos of Conowingo Dam, Mike Lemery, Lemery, if you look him up on Facebook or on YouTube, you'll see a lot of excellent videos there. And Mark Smith, also on YouTube, has some very good videos of Conowingo Dam. It's a really good place to go, but it's kind of potluck whether you're going to catch anything when you go. So the best time to go, like I say, is probably April, and then probably November if you can put up with the cold.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate that. And we've got a few comments here in the chat room. Melanie says, Paul gets the best pictures. And you really do, Paul. You've got some amazing posts on the NCTC Eagle Cam as well from the nest, all through the season videos as well. Maria says, Maria Parisi here at NCTC, so nice to meet Deb and Paul. And Lori G says, thank goodness
Likewise.
for you and your team, Deb. Your passion, commitment, and contributions are beyond admirable, and I would second that. Laura G says, again, Paul, I've learned so much from you. Thank you so much, and yes, your photos are the best. So that was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
We're looking at the young one now again. Here he's got a piece of fish there. Not sure if that was brought in this morning or maybe some leftovers from yesterday, but Jefferson's pecking away at that there, and that's keeping him occupied. Now, Deb and Paul, if you can stay around for a little bit yet, folks, go ahead and send in any questions you have. Let's see. Pam says, thank you, Paul. Love your posts. Same to Deb. We have got a few videos. Let's see. This is June 14th and 15th. These are pretty interesting. Last week, we had our National Communication Workshop here at NCTC, and Rosalie Wetzel, she's in our headquarters office. She was out shooting some video, and she happened to catch this one. Now, we're used to looking at that post from the Eagle Cam, and it looks straight, but look at it here. You can see it's not straight, it's got a curve to it. And so Paul commented earlier, you can see how the young eagle can sort of use that as a ladder to climb up. It's not as vertical as it appears to us on the Eagle Cam. But this was 1 week ago. I believe it was the 14th. And now we've got 3 other ones on that page. Can you bring those up, Rob? I think the first one is actually one that Deb or Paul had posted. Oh, we've got a comment from Jackie. Thanks for the information, Paul. Love to see your smiling face, Deb. Jackie out in Oregon, joining us from the Portland area. So Melissa Gonzalez here. If you want to play that next video, Rob. Here we go. This is the, let's see, this is the 16th. We haven't seen actually the fledge video yet. This is Jefferson coming home. So this would be the day after the fledge. And this is taken from the field camera here. Deb got a shot of him landing in the nest right there. I think this was his first visit back, and there it is from the Eagle Cam itself. Jefferson's successful flight back to the nest. He spends a fair amount of time at the river, and he will more so as time goes on. Granted, in this last week, he's been back at the nest quite a lot too, because he still associates the nest with food. But as time goes on and he learns to hunt and fish on his own, he or she, then we'll see less of him in the nest, but more down at the river. And yeah, that video that we saw a little bit ago, that was from Rosalie Wetzel, a communications specialist. Rosalie is with Mike Bird's division down at our headquarters. So we've got a couple of questions here from Laura G. Have you ever witnessed a fledgling bringing back a fish or prey to the nest? I don't think I have. How about you, Deb or Paul? Have you ever seen a fledgling bring a fish back to a nest?
Yes, I saw that at the Hay River nest, but we also saw it on live cam before on the south, I think it was the Southwest Florida nest. Yeah. Paul, how about
I've
you?
seen it at a few nests, but it wasn't clear whether the fledgling actually caught the fish or got the fish from a parent on a branch, but they did bring it to the nest. But this season we did see E22 at Southwest actually catch a fish in the pond.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, there's lots of things go on down at the river, of course, that we don't see. But the good news is they will come back to the nest. So we'll probably see them, through the summer months, now and then. But most of the time is spent down there, and they roost. They can roost in trees down there at night. Now the nest is really used in the spring and early summer for rearing the young. That's the purpose of the nest. They are kind of vulnerable in the nest. Any bird, of course, when the young ones are in there, whether they're an egg or a young bird, they are vulnerable, and the adults are very good at protecting them and keeping away other eagles and other predatory birds like hawks, owls, and so on. But once they're fully grown now and fledged the nest, they're spending most of their time down there, and honing their fishing techniques and getting better at catching their own food. The first year is the most vulnerable for them. If they can survive the first year, then they're doing pretty good. So Chuck's got a question: when will Jefferson start getting food on his own? You have any thoughts on that, Deb or Paul?
Well, the process will start now, but I don't know how successful he'll be. He needs lots of practice. The adults will coach and mentor, and hopefully he'll be successful in fishing the river's right there, so lots of opportunity to fish.
Yeah, my understanding is that a lot of the first year what they feed on is carrion until they learn how to fish. But I've seen very young eagles at Conowingo Dam successfully catch fish, and we did see E22 catch this fish. So I'm beginning to
Yes.
think that they can actually learn to catch fish pretty quick.
Yeah,
Likewise. And
go ahead, Deb.
well, the live cams, I do want to say that over the years, the technology has really improved. When we first started watching back in 2006, there was lots of buffering. The picture was grainy. And look at today, the cams are beautiful. And they're such a great educator. And I think David Hancock, he said it best. He's got 50 or 60 years of experience. And he said once they launched the live cams, they became the best educators. They reach more people than he has in his lifetime. And he's in his 80s now and still studying bald eagles. So these live eagle cams are really important with regards to education about eagles, but also promoting conservation and taking care of our environment. And I just like to thank NCTC, the Outdoor Channel, and friends of NCTC for providing this opportunity to the public and to students to learn about bald eagles, because the education piece will help conserve this population forevermore.
I guess I'd like to second what Deb says. I'd like to thank NCTC and everybody there that made these cams possible. And I think NCTC probably has the best cams on YouTube right now.
Well, that's
I
great
have
to
to
hear.
agree.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, and thanks for hooking us up with Connor O'Brien at Windows on Wildlife. He tipped us off to the CamStreamer software for YouTube, and that's really made things stream so much better. Now we've got the 12-hour rewind, the DVR, and so that's great to be able to go back and see something that happened 12 hours ago. So thanks to Connor for that. And Deb, I was just thinking when you're talking about as an education tool, we had a group of teachers here last week, and a number of the teachers mentioned to me that they used the cam so much during the pandemic, and the kids were at home, the teachers were at home, the teachers are trying to teach online, and you can imagine keeping kids focused and occupied. But they told me that they could always get the kids interested in the Eagle Cam, and that kind of helped them to focus and use that to teach the other things that they were mandated to teach. But that was great to hear. I enjoyed hearing that from many of our local teachers. And of course, the neat thing about being out online and on YouTube is you can pretty much pick these wildlife cams up anywhere you are with an internet connection, of course. And beyond bald eagles, like Deb mentioned, they look at Bald Eagles 101 looks at tracks 50 different cams across the country, but there's also wildlife webcams on herds of elk and black bear and well, you name it. There's probably a camera on it. There's cameras in Africa. It's mind-boggling. It's almost like we have a wired wilderness. Well, let's see. We've got maybe one more video to close out with. And folks, if you have any questions, let me see. We'll, Rob, if you can pull that one up of the fledge itself, that would be from June 15th. It's the one that came from the post that Melissa did. So it's the one before this one on that same page. It's June 15th. No, it's actually after this one. Sorry about that. It's the next one after this on the same page. So we've got a comment from YouTube. Braden says, good morning. I've worked with the U.S. Forest Service in Region 5 with bald eagle nests, and I love your videos. Thank you for protecting our wildlife. Thanks, Braden. Thanks for joining us today. And thanks to everyone. Let's see. Pam says Cornell has some really good bird cams. Yes, Cornell Lab of Ornithology has got some great bird cams. They've got a red-tailed hawk cam and a great blue heron cam. So that's a very good source of information that we have. Seems like that one's not working for us, Rob. How about let's go to June 16th, where we've got Deb posted one of Jefferson bringing in a fish, or that is, I think one of the adults brought the fish in, and then of course Jefferson claimed it later on. Yeah, there he is. This was the day after he came back to the nest for the first time. So it's been a great season. We've got a nice, healthy young eaglet here, and this will be our last broadcast for live from the Eagle's Nest for this season. However, don't go away, because we're going to leave those cameras on. We leave them on pretty much 24/7 year round. So summer months are interesting too. You never know who might drop by in the nest when the eagles aren't around.
Yeah.
We've seen turkey vultures in there, black vultures. We've seen great blue heron, and lots of songbirds, mockingbirds, red-winged blackbirds. You never know who might visit, day or night. And we'll see the adult pair and young Jefferson back there every now and then as well. So it's been a great season. Thanks to everyone who's contributed and enjoyed watching this, and thanks very much to you, Deb and Paul, everybody at Bald Eagles 101, Terry and Trudy. Thanks for all your work. I know you do a lot of work behind the scenes. Deb has also got some great posts. She has a history of this nest. It's on the Outdoor Channel. If you just kind of scroll down past where you see the video, you'll see some links in there for Deb's history of the nest, and a kind of a day-by-day, play-by-play of what goes on at the nest throughout the season. Really good citizen science work there by folks at Bald Eagles 101. And I'll just say thanks to everyone for joining us over the season. It's been a great one. Thanks to you all for tuning in today. And on behalf of everybody here at the National Conservation Training Center, we will say so long. Thanks to Deb and Paul for joining us. We appreciate all your
Thanks,
good
Randy.
work.
Melissa, Rob,
Thanks, Randy.
team at NCTC, and to all the viewers.
Well, it's been our pleasure. Thanks for joining us today, answering all those questions, posting the good videos, and thanks for your slideshows today as well. Take good care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye now.